It was a tough day for 1 seeds here in the NCAA men's tournament. Gonzaga falls, then the Arizona Wildcats to Houston. I'm Jordan Ham here in San Antonio alongside Justin Spears of Tucson.com, ESPN Tucson as well. You do a little bit of everything for Tucson sports. So thanks so much for joining us.
Absolutely.
Wire-to-wire win for Houston. They never gave up the lead. What was the big takeaway on just how they were able to assert their dominance really from minute one and not relinquish it?
Yeah, well, and you have to give a big credit to Houston because remember that they were without their two best players ever since the month of December in Sasser and Trayvon Mark. So they didn't have those two guys in January and February, but they found a way to play with some of their other guys. And you saw Jamal Sheed out here with 21 points. Kyler Edwards, for them also, he was, I believe, 5 for 9 from 3-point range. So the reinforcements for the guys who were a big part of the Final Four team a year ago and suffered season-ending injuries, those enforcements were able to come out, and I thought they had a fantastic game plan against Arizona. I thought the guards were brilliant, but Houston is the top offensive rebounding team in college basketball, and TCU kind of had a blueprint to beat Arizona, but they couldn't execute it down the stretch. Houston, offensive rebounding is their forte, and they went out and they executed. They kind of bullied Arizona around in the paint, and then they, got out, forced turnovers, and Arizona was outscored, I believe, 24-6 in points off turnovers. So Houston, they had a game plan. They executed it well. Kelvin Sampson's a great coach. And you got to give big credit to the Cougars. I mean, they came out, they knew that they were kind of the underdogs, being the 5 seed against the number 1 seed. The last time they beat a number 1 seed, Akeem Olajuwon was wearing a Cougars uniform, and they took it to Arizona. And for the first time this season, Arizona wasn't able to overcome a double-digit lead and get back into the game. And it was just it was a really an interesting moment for Tommy Lloyd and his Arizona team, but I think they're going to learn from it, and I think the future is bright for the Cats.
We saw so many times with the Wildcats where maybe they might be behind in the second half, where it might be a back-and-forth game, and then they're just able to pull away throughout this season. But they hung around the first 10 minutes of the second half, and then Houston just able to pull away. What do you think about why they weren't able to pull that trigger? You had Mathurin that played pretty well, put up a lot of shots, but got to the line. Same thing with Koloko. Dalen Terry had a nice game, but it just felt like they were out of rhythm the entire game.
Yeah, and the thing about this Arizona team is that they play well, but they're all together. Every single guy has their role, and they thrive in that role. Where you look at tonight, it was Benedict Mathurin who was kind of putting on his superhero cape in the second half, and he did that against TCU. And then Dalen Terry, the all-time glue guy that we all refer to, I mean, he was getting assists, he was getting rebounds, and he was scoring. But there were times where he turned over the ball, and he would look over at Tommy Lloyd, and you could see Coach Lloyd saying, "Hey, man, slow down." There were a number of factors, but I think the biggest one tonight, and it's kind of bled over from the TCU game, and that's Azuolas Tubelis. He's an all Pac-12 forward for a reason. He's been amazing this year for Arizona, but he went 0 for 8 tonight against Houston. It looked like the Monstars from Space Jam kind of took his talents away because he just looked completely lost out there. I mean, he had a lot of questionable shots. The turnovers that he had just were boneheaded mistakes on his part. And over the last 2 games, he shot 2 for 15 from the field. When you have an all Pac-12 player, you can't go 2 for 15 in the month of March. But Tommy Lloyd's optimistic about Azuolas and the jump that he can make next year, and I think he's going to learn from it and get better.
You mentioned next year. You were the one tasked asking about, are you going to be heading to the NBA draft? We didn't get any answers from any of the guys tonight on what their futures look like, but you assume Ben Mathurin is going to head off. Koloko is also likely, maybe Dalen Terry. Also, you have a pretty good recruiting class coming in. You have the transfer portal. Arizona is quite a destination now. So what do you think the roster that took the court tonight, how that will look next year?
I'm curious to see what happens with Christian Koloko and Dalen Terry because I think their play over the last month or so has really kind of forced them into NBA draft conversation. Benedict Mathurin, he's a goner. Pac-12 Player of the Year. He's an All-American, one of the better guards in college basketball. I mean, Kelvin Sampson said before tonight's game that Benedict Mathurin is the best guard that Houston has faced all year long. So you can guarantee that he's going to be gone. He's a lottery pick. I mean, he could even be a top 5 pick. I mean, that's how high Benedict Mathurin can go. But Christian Coloco, what's he going to do? I mean, he tied Lauren Woods' shot blocking record for the season this year. And every month he seemed to get significantly better. And usually, when you see the kind of trajectory that he's on, a couple guys say, hey, we really like you in the draft. We think you could possibly be a first-round pick. And if Christian Coloco is a borderline first-round pick, I think he's going to go. I think Dalen Terry's going to come back. I think he'd be great next year under Tommy Lloyd. And, you have five-star point guard Kylan Boswell committed for 2023, but a lot of people seem to speculate that he's going to reclassify to 2022. So you add in a point guard like that. Kerr Kriisa is going to come back. I think Kerr Kriisa is going to be playing more off ball next year. Going to be kind of like a two guard, but can also handle the ball. Kind of like the Cleveland Cavaliers this year. They have like 2 point guards playing in their backcourt. So I think you're going to see Kerr Kriisa play more off the ball. Kylan Boswell is going to come in. I like Dalen Terry as their starting small forward. Azuolas Tubelis is going to be back as well. And then one of the better stories from this year is the rise of Oumar Ballo, the Gonzaga transfer. At the start of the year, he just seemed like a big body that didn't really know what he was doing. And then he got more confident. His body was starting to transform, and he became a great player. That's why he was in the running for Pac-12 Sixth Man of the Year. And speaking of Pac-12 Sixth Man of the Year, you got Pelle Larsson coming back too. So I think Arizona's roster is going to be in pretty good shape next year. Like you said, the transfer portal is big time. And Tommy Lloyd, if you notice this year, he didn't play any freshmen. Adama Ball was really the only freshman that he played, and that was in pinches. Adama Ball is going to come back. The French Connection, as we like to call him. I think Arizona, they're going to be back here next year. But now the jig is up. Everyone knows that Arizona's a really good team. They came into this year unranked. They were voted to finish 4th in the Pac-12, tied with Oregon State, believe it or not. And they finished the season with three wins. Meanwhile, Arizona had 3 losses in year.
Freezing cold takes on that one.
So I think Arizona is going to be a preseason favorite to win the Pac-12 next year. I think they're going to be a top 10 team in entering the preseason polls. And now everyone knows that the secret is out. Tommy Lloyd and the Arizona Wildcats are back.
It is well after midnight. Arizona just wrapped up their season. Justin is dropping knowledge. If you're a U of A fan and you're not following Justin, what are you doing? So, but tough night for the Wildcats, but moving forward, future looking pretty bright, and we'll see what's up for them in 2023.